voice of the Midwest. 570 WNAX.
And good morning. Welcome back to your morning 5-State Farm Report. Danielle Drotzman, your host here for this hour on WNAX, filling in for Keith as he is taking a day of vacation. So you guys are stuck with me here for the day. So, but we are excited to welcome on a couple great guests here this morning on this program. And one of those I have with me here. So, we have the Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley with us this morning. So it's always a pleasure to get him on and visit with him. So, Chuck Grassley, how are you doing this morning? Thanks for joining us on WNAX.
Thank you, and when Keith gets back from vacation, tell him hello from me.
I will, for sure. And he might even be listening in, so maybe you can just tell him right now. But we'll tell him hello when he gets back, for sure. But I guess, as always, thank you for joining us here today. It's always a pleasure to visit with you. So we'll just start here first. You know, you guys are always keeping your ears open, listening to the people of Iowa and just kind of what their concerns are and what their wins are. So, you know, at the moment, you know, when you're visiting with your Iowa farmers, I guess, what are you hearing from the farmers and ranchers in Iowa? What's kind of top of mind for them right now?
High input costs, particularly diesel shooting up again, but it's been an issue even when diesel got down $1 here recently. But now it's back up. E15 is very high on their agenda because that's going to bring $14 billion more into the pockets of corn growers. It's going to help employment in our ethanol industry, about 43,000 jobs in Iowa. And then a 5-year farm bill, and then tariffs and things of that nature. If you get a little more specific, when you're talking things in the 5-year farm bill, cattlemen want more flexibility to graze and hay, CRP as an example. There's a feeling that corn prices need to be a lot higher, but we won't change the support price for corn at $4.10 because that was done a year ago in the tax bill, just like we increased soybeans to $10 last year. So really, when you talk about a 5-year farm bill, you're talking about things beyond the safety net for farmers. But one of those things that need to be done in the 5-year farm bill when we rewrite it is since the farm bill we have now goes back to 2018, we've had a lot of inflation since then. The loan rates need to be loan limits need to be raised to reflect inflation as another example of things we're trying to accomplish. And then Thune of South Dakota, Grassley of Iowa, and Marshall of Kansas were trying to get in some fertilizer legislation to make sure that the U.S. Department of Agriculture stays on top of fertilizer competition, fertilizer prices, and a quantity of it. That would be doing for inputs into agriculture the same thing they do with the prices on the output of agriculture.
Gotcha. So, yeah, I know we have seen some decrease in fertilizer prices, I guess, over, the past couple months. But, that'll be kind of top of mind for our farmers here in a little bit, as they get the crop out and kind of prepare for next year. So is there any other work you're kind of doing around fertilizer costs for farmers, or is what you just mentioned kind of the gist of it at the moment?
Well, the bill that I was talking about that'll be part of the 5-year farm bill is to give the U.S. Department of Agriculture the same authority over inputs that they report regularly on prices of grain and other commodities. There's one other thing that I started talking about last February, at least, maybe sooner than that, and that was the complaining about the 18% tariff on Moroccan phosphate because Biden put that on as a countervailing duty, which I think was a stupid thing to do when Mosaic in the United States has 85% of the market, and they I just don't think they needed the protection from 18% tariffs. Well, now Trump has stepped in, and those 18% tariffs aren't on now, so that ought to reduce the price of phosphate. And by the way, Mosaic has 85% of the market, and yet they're closing some plants down that would seem unreasonable at a time when we need more quantity of fertilizer. I did bring up with our special trade representative Wednesday when he was before the Finance Committee on the regular oversight hearing some of these trade issues as well.
Gotcha. And I know kind of on Wednesday, I think the House kind of had a big day. I mean, part of a budget resolution, the House passed some farm aid on Wednesday. So is that good for farmers? I mean, what's kind of your opinion there? And is that something you guys are going to be working on here in the near future?
I'm going to support, I think it was $11 billion and a bigger bill that included some money to replenish and reestablish war material that was shot up in the Iranian war. So that's badly needed, but it's a good opportunity to get some help for farmers. Now, as I go around Iowa, Iowa farmers say we don't want money out of the federal treasury. We want market prices. We want our income from the market. And so this is kind of contrary to what farmers want, but it seems to me the $11 billion is justified because the Iran war has done a lot to drive up input costs for farmers because of energy and fertilizer not coming out of the Middle East through the Gulf of Hormuz. And we need to make sure that farmers, when they have increased costs that are caused by the government, they need to be helped as a result of that. And so that's what that $11 billion does. And I hope we can get it through the United States Senate and do it very quickly.
Absolutely. And I guess we're kind of coming up here to the end of our time. This is probably going to be the last question here. But, we kind of talked about some topics that are just, kind of national topics, things everybody are kind of paying attention to. But, I mean, what about specifically for Iowa? Is there anything specifically for Iowa that you are, advocating for or spreading the word to D.C. about?
Well, I'll tell you, I think all we've talked about already is pretty specific to Iowa, except one other thing that's kind of a non-farm, but it affects farm families, and we got 86,000 farm families in the United States, in the state of Iowa, and that would be prescription drug prices. I'm working on legislation to make transparent the very secret negotiations that go on as the middle people between you as a consumer and the insurance companies, not insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies. These pharmacy benefit managers set prices, they set formularies, they set rebates. Nobody knows what they do. And we think they drive up the price of prescription drugs. So the legislation that I'm proposing with Senator Wyden, a Democrat of Oregon, is to make sure that all this stuff is transparent. We think that's going to drive down the prices of drugs. We shouldn't have this sort of secrecy, not only so we protect you as a consumer, but also don't forget there's billions and billions of federal tax dollars spent through Medicare and Medicaid on prescription, and we should be saving the taxpayers some money in the process.
Absolutely. Sounds like you're going to be busy, and I guess thank you for the work that you do to advocate for all of us here in the Midwest. So with that, I guess anything to wrap up on, as that's kind of all I have for you today. Before anything to wrap up on and leave our listeners with.
Well, I think the wrap up is that people that listen to your radio station have heard me talk about for the 46 years I've been in the United States Senate, have a Q&A in all 99 counties at least once a year. And I've got 15 counties to go this year, and Iowans can expect to see me in those 15 counties before Labor Day.
All right, perfect. We'll have to check that out. So thank you, Senator, for joining us here today. It was a pleasure to visit with you. So you have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend. So thank you.
Thank you, Danielle, and Keith. Have a happy vacation day.
There you go. Perfect. I'm sure he is. So, all right. That is, again, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley joining us here today on your morning 5-State Farm Report. We'll take a quick break here, and then we'll take a look at your markets here at the bottom of the hour. So stay tuned.
The farming world is a massive place, but the part that matters most to you is your land.